Imagine this, you're 22 years old. You have no real money, no big investors backing you, and no solid business plan. All you have is an idea, a wild, risky idea that could either make you a fortune or leave you completely broke. And then you get a phone call. On the other end of the line is a desperate musician. He has talent, raw passion, and a dream, but no record label wants to sign him. He begs you for a chance. In this moment, you have a choice. He took his last bit of cash, less than $50, and booked a small, cheap recording studio. He signed that unknown artist, took a huge gamble, and produced an album. If it failed, he was finished. But if it worked, it would change everything. That artist was Mike Oldfield, and the album was Tubular Bells, the record that put Virgin Records on the map. Not only did it sell millions of copies, but it also led to one of the most powerful business empires in history, Virgin Group. But that's just the beginning. Richard Branson didn't stop there. He doubled down on risk over and over again, pushing his company into industries no one thought he could win in. From music to airlines, space travel, and beyond, he built an empire worth billions. But it wasn't easy. Branson nearly lost everything multiple times. He faced legal battles, betrayals, and financial disasters that would have crushed most people. But every time he fought back. So how did he do it? How did Richard Branson turn a tiny record label into a multi-billion-dollar empire? How did he survive financial ruin, lawsuits, and failure? And more importantly, what lessons can you take from his journey to apply in your own life? This is the story of Richard Branson's billionaire mindset and how one risky decision changed his life forever. Richard Branson was never supposed to be a billionaire. In fact, if you looked at his life growing up, you would have never guessed he'd go on to build a $3 billion empire. Why? Because Branson was dyslexic. He struggled in school, barely passed his classes, and dropped out at just 16 years old. Teachers thought he would fail in life. They told him he wasn't smart enough, not disciplined enough, and not capable of running a real business. But Branson had one advantage. He didn't care about the rules. While other kids were focused on grades, Branson was focused on making money. His first real business, a magazine, at 16, he started Student, a magazine aimed at young people. With no money and no experience, he hustled, calling companies, pitching advertisers, and getting businesses to pay for ad space before the magazine even existed. It worked. By 17, Branson had made enough money from Student to fund his next big move, a mail-order record business. This was the beginning of Virgin. At the time, buying music was expensive, and Branson saw an opportunity. Instead of selling records in stores, he shipped them directly to customers at lower prices. The business exploded, but success came with problems. The government started investigating him for tax evasion because of the way he was running the business. At just 21, Branson was arrested and spent a night in jail. He was terrified. If convicted, his entire business would be destroyed. To get out of trouble, Branson had to pay a huge $60,000 fine, more money than he had. His mother had to remortgage the family home just to keep him out of prison. Most people would have given up right there. But not Branson. Instead of backing down, he pushed harder. He knew playing it safe would get him nowhere, so he doubled down on risk. That's when he decided to start his own record label, Virgin Records. With no experience in the music industry and barely any money, Branson took one final gamble, the $50 bet that changed his life forever. That gamble worked, but it wasn't luck, it was Branson's mindset. His ability to see opportunity where others saw risk, his willingness to fail and learn, and his ability to think bigger than anyone else is what made him a billionaire. But the real question is, what happened next? Branson didn't stop at music. He saw another opportunity, one so insane that people thought he was crazy. And that's exactly where we're heading next. Richard Branson had just turned a $50 gamble into a thriving record empire. Virgin Records was a success. His label had signed hit artists, and money was finally flowing in. Most people would have stayed in their lane, kept growing the music business, and avoided unnecessary risks, but Branson wasn't like most people. He wasn't satisfied with just being a music mogul. He wanted more. He wanted something bigger, something that had nothing to do with music at all. And then fate stepped in. One day, while traveling to the British Virgin Islands, Branson's flight was cancelled at the last minute. He was stranded at the airport with no way to get to his destination. For most people, this would just be an annoying inconvenience. But for Branson, it was a billion-dollar opportunity. Instead of waiting around, he took action. He chartered a small plane, borrowed a blackboard, and wrote, "Virgin Airlines, $39 a seat to the Virgin Islands." Then, he walked around the airport selling tickets to other stranded passengers. Within minutes, he had filled the plane. That moment changed everything. Branson realized something: the airline industry was broken. People were frustrated with the big airline companies, and no one was doing anything about it. So what did he do? He started his own airline. With zero experience in aviation, with no planes of his own, with no background in running an airline. It was insane. His own team thought he was crazy. Experts told him he'd lose everything. His own business advisors begged him to stop. They warned him airlines were a cutthroat industry. The competition was brutal. If he failed, he would destroy his entire company. And they were right. Branson almost lost it all. To fund Virgin Atlantic, he had to put everything on the line. He mortgaged his record company, risking the entire Virgin brand. If the airline failed, his entire empire would collapse, and for a while, it looked like it might. The competition was ruthless. British Airways, the dominant airline in the UK, saw Branson as a threat, and they were determined to destroy him. They played dirty. They started a secret campaign to sabotage Virgin Atlantic. They spread fake rumors about the company failing. They spied on Virgin's customers. They even called Virgin Atlantic passengers and tried to convince them to switch to British Airways. It was a full-on war. Branson could have quit right there. He could have cut his losses and walked away, but instead, he fought back. He took British Airways to court and won a $945,000 settlement for their dirty tactics. Virgin Atlantic survived, not just survived, thrived. It became one of the most successful airlines in the world. Branson had done the impossible. He had taken on giants and won. And this was just the beginning, because now he had a new dream. A dream so insane that people thought he had lost his mind. Richard Branson was about to bet everything on space travel. Richard Branson had already done the unthinkable. He had built Virgin Records from nothing, turned Virgin Atlantic into a success despite the airline industry's brutal competition, and taken on British Airways and won. For most people, this would be the final victory. The peak of their career, the moment to sit back and enjoy their billions. But Branson wasn't most people. He wasn't satisfied with airplanes. He wanted spaceships. It sounded insane. This wasn't just another risky business move. This was a billion-dollar dream that could end in disaster. But Branson had already spent his life betting against the odds and winning. He believed that commercial space travel was the future. That one day, regular people, not just astronauts, could fly to space. And he wanted Virgin to be the first company to make it happen. So in 2004, he launched Virgin Galactic, a company designed to take passengers into outer space. People laughed at him. They said he was just a crazy billionaire with a fantasy. Even business experts said it was impossible, but Branson didn't care. He put hundreds of millions of dollars into developing spaceflight technology. He partnered with engineers, scientists, and rocket builders to create a new kind of spacecraft. It took years of research, failures, and testing. And then in 2014, the worst happened. A Virgin Galactic test flight ended in disaster. The spacecraft, VSS Enterprise, suffered a catastrophic failure. It broke apart mid-air, crashing into the desert. One pilot died, another was seriously injured. The world watched as Branson's dream went up in flames, literally. For the first time, people wondered, was this the end of Virgin Galactic? Branson was devastated. He had spent a decade and millions of dollars trying to make space travel possible. Now, lives had been lost. Most people would have walked away. But not Branson. Instead of giving up, he doubled down. He called his team together and made a decision. We keep going. He knew the risks, but he also knew that every great innovation in history had been built on persistence. So Virgin Galactic rebuilt. They redesigned the spacecraft. They improved safety, they kept pushing forward. And finally, in 2021, after nearly 20 years of struggle, Richard Branson himself flew to space. At the age of 70, he sat inside his own Virgin Galactic spaceship and watched the Earth from above. He had done it. A school dropout with dyslexia, a record store owner, a man who once went to jail for tax fraud, had just become a pioneer of space travel. But this wasn't just about him. Branson's entire life had been about one thing, dreaming bigger than anyone else, and taking risks no one else was willing to take. And that's why he became a billionaire, because he wasn't afraid to bet everything on his vision. Now, here's the question. What can you learn from Branson? Because his story isn't just about business, it's about mindset. It's about how to win in life, no matter where you start. Richard Branson's life wasn't just a story of business success, it was a blueprint for how to win at anything. Because the truth is, he never played by the rules. He didn't come from a rich family, he didn't have a business degree. He didn't follow a safe career path. Yet, he built a billion-dollar empire. How? It all comes down to the way he thinks and operates. And if you understand these key lessons, you can apply them to your own life, no matter what your goals are. 1. Take massive risks, but be smart about it. Branson has always been a risk taker. But here's the secret. He never takes blind risks. When he started Virgin Airlines, he made a brilliant move. He negotiated a deal where he could return the first plane if the business didn't work. He was risking big, but he always had a backup plan. The lesson? Take big swings, but don't bet everything without a strategy. Calculate your risks so you can survive even if things go wrong. 2. Say yes first. Figure it out later. Branson never waits until he has everything perfect before making a move. When his flight was canceled, he chartered a plane and started Virgin Airlines in a single day. When he saw the future of space travel, he announced Virgin Galactic before the technology even existed. Most people wait too long to take action. They overthink, hesitate, and miss opportunities. Branson's approach: jump first, solve problems as you go. Because action beats perfection every time. 3. Branding is everything. Branson understood something most entrepreneurs never get. A strong brand is more powerful than a strong product. He didn't just create businesses, he built the Virgin brand. A brand that stood for fun, excitement, and rebellion. That's why people trusted his companies, even in industries where he had no experience. The lesson: your reputation matters more than your product. People don't just buy what you sell, they buy who you are. 4. Competition is war. Play to win. Branson doesn't just compete, he fights to win. When British Airways tried to crush Virgin Atlantic, he didn't back down. Instead, he took them to court and won nearly $1 million. When Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos started their own space companies, did Branson give up? No, he raced to space first, proving that Virgin Galactic was the real deal. The truth is, if you want to succeed at a high level, you have to be aggressive. Branson's rule: if someone tries to take you down, hit back harder. Never let your competition dictate your future. 5. Have fun, or don't do it. Unlike many billionaires, Branson doesn't take himself too seriously. He dressed up as a flight attendant to settle a bet with an airline competitor. He attempted world records in hot air balloons just for the thrill. He treats business like an adventure, not just a job. His philosophy: if it's not fun, it's not worth doing. Find ways to make success exciting, and that's why people love him, because he brings energy and passion into everything he does. At the end of the day, Richard Branson became a billionaire because he was willing to dream bigger than anyone else. He saw a record store and built an entertainment empire. He saw a canceled flight and built an airline. He saw a space industry controlled by governments and said, "I'm going to send everyday people to space." Most people limit themselves. They think that's impossible. Branson thinks, why not? And that's the difference. That's why he's a billionaire, while others are still waiting for the right moment to start. So the question is, are you thinking big enough? Are you taking action, or are you waiting for permission that will never come? Because if Branson's life teaches us anything, it's this: the world belongs to those who take risks, think big, and never back down. So what's the real takeaway from Richard Branson's extraordinary journey? It's not just about building a billion-dollar empire. It's not about conquering the skies, the seas, or even space. It's about a mindset that says, I will not be limited by what others believe is possible. Richard Branson proved that no matter where you start, whether it's with nothing but a dream or against all odds, you can achieve the impossible. Because the truth is, success is never about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about making that moment happen. It's about taking risks when everyone else is playing it safe, and making bold decisions when others say it can't be done. And what makes Branson so special, it's not just his ability to win, it's his ability to dream bigger than everyone else. While others saw obstacles, he saw opportunity. While they saw challenges, he saw adventures waiting to happen. Branson's life isn't just a story of financial success. It's a story of fearlessness, passion, and a refusal to be limited by the world around him. So the question for you is, are you ready to step out of your comfort zone and embrace the unknown? Are you prepared to take that leap of faith, just as Branson did when he started an airline with no experience or when he risked everything for space travel? Are you ready to build something that changes the world? It's not about what you have, it's about what you believe. Richard Branson didn't become a billionaire because of his resources. He did it because he had vision and he took action on it, and you can do the same. Remember, the only limits that exist are the ones you place on yourself. So dream bigger, risk more, and never stop pushing forward. Because the world is waiting for the next visionary who dares to take that leap. And who knows, that visionary could be you. Now that you've heard the story of Richard Branson's incredible journey, it's time to take action. The question is, what will you do with your dreams? If you're inspired by what you've heard today, don't wait for the perfect moment. Start taking bold steps toward your own vision. Whether it's launching a business, chasing a new career, or embarking on a completely new adventure, the time is now. Think bigger. Risk more. Dare to dream beyond the limits. Remember, the world doesn't reward the people who sit on the sidelines. It rewards those who step up and make things happen. So, what's your next move? If you're ready to transform your life and unlock your full potential, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message today. Let's build a community of dreamers and doers who believe in taking bold action and achieving greatness. Comment below with your goals and tell us, what's one step you're taking today to move closer to your dreams? Because the first step starts now, and it starts with you.